Discovery. In the year 2247, humanity had spread across the stars, establishing thriving colonies and forging alliances with alien civilizations. Earth had become a beacon of hope and progress in the galactic community. At the Interstellar Defense Command headquarters in New York City, Lieutenant Commander Jenna Reeves monitored the deep space sensor array. Suddenly, an urgent ping echoed through her headset. Jenna's eyes widened as she studied the readout. A distress signal, faint but clear, emanated from an unexplored sector of space. Jenna immediately reported the signal to her superiors, and within hours, Earth's most advanced ship, the ISS Endeavour, was dispatched to investigate. Captained by the renowned Nadia Solis, the Endeavour boasted a crew of Earth's brightest minds and bravest hearts. As the sleek vessel traversed the stars, the crew speculated about what awaited them. Could be a trap, warned Security Chief Lieutenant Commander Alex Ivanov, his brow furrowed. Captain Solis shook her head, her dark eyes determined. Or it could be someone in genuine need. We have to be prepared for either. After several days of travel, the Endeavour dropped out of hyperspace at the signal's coordinates. The view screen filled with the sight of a massive fleet of alien ships, their hulls scorched and battered. Dozens of vessels drifted helplessly, their running lights flickering weakly. "My God," whispered the Endeavour's pilot, Lieutenant Kai Chen. "What could have done this?" Nadia leaned forward in her command chair, her voice steady. "Scan for life signs and hail them on all frequencies. Let's find out who we're dealing with." Moments later, a humanoid alien appeared on the screen. Their skin was a deep blue, and intricate patterns swirled across their face. "Greetings," the alien said in a musical voice. "I am Commander Zorax of the Zathuri. We are grateful for your presence." Nadia introduced herself and her crew, then asked, "Commander Zorax, what happened to your fleet?" Zorax's expression turned grave. "We were caught in a massive energy storm that overloaded our systems. Many of our ships are badly damaged, and our supplies are running low. We have been stranded here for weeks." Nadia exchanged glances with her senior officers. They all knew the risks of getting involved in alien affairs, but the Zathuri's plight tugged at their conscience. Turning to the screen, Nadia spoke the words that would change the course of both their species. "Commander Zorax, we are here to help." Over the next few hours, teams from the Endeavour shuttled to the Zathurian ships, bringing food, medical aid, and repair equipment. Nadia and Zorax met in person to coordinate the relief efforts. Up close, Nadia couldn't help but marvel at the aliens' graceful movements and shimmering skin. As human and Zathurian engineers worked side by side to repair the damaged vessels, a bond began to form between the two crews. Dr. Lena Sorensen, the Endeavour's chief medical officer, found herself fascinated by Zathurian physiology and their advanced healing techniques. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Miguel Ramos traded jokes with his Zathurian counterpart as they rewired power relays. However, not everyone was at ease with the budding alliance. Lieutenant Commander Ivanov watched the Zathurians warily, his hand never straying far from his sidearm. "We're taking an awful risk here, Captain," he cautioned Nadia in private. "We know nothing about these aliens or their true intentions." Nadia met his gaze steadily. "I understand your concerns, Alex, but my gut tells me this is the right thing to do. If we turn our backs on those in need, what does that say about us as a species?" As the repairs continued, Nadia spent more time with Zorax, learning about Zathurian culture and history. She discovered a proud and ancient civilization, one that valued art, science, and harmony with nature. In turn, she shared stories of Earth's tumultuous past and how humanity had overcome its differences to explore the stars. One evening, as they watched the ethereal dance of the Zathurian nebula from the Endeavour's observation deck, Zorax turned to Nadia, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Your people have shown us great kindness, Captain Solis. The Zathuri will not forget this." Nadia smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "We're just doing what we believe is right, Commander." In the vastness of space, we must stand together. Little did they know that their newfound alliance was about to face its greatest test, for in the depths of the void, an ancient and malevolent force stirred, drawn by the beacon of hope and unity. The Endeavor and the Zathuri were on a collision course with a darkness that threatened to consume them all. Assistance. As the Endeavor and the Zathurian fleet continued their repairs, a sense of camaraderie blossomed between the two crews. Human and Zathurian engineers swapped techniques and technology, marveling at each other's ingenuity. In the mess hall, laughter echoed as crew members shared stories and meals from their respective homeworlds. Captain Nadia Solis found herself spending more and more time with Commander Zorax, fascinated by his tales of Zathurian history and culture. She learned of their ancient philosophy of harmony, how they believed that all life was interconnected, and that it was their duty to preserve balance in the universe. Our greatest achievement, Zorax said proudly, is not our technology or our art, but our unity. Every Zathuri, from the mightiest leader to the humblest worker, strives for the betterment of all. Nadia nodded, feeling a pang of envy. Humanity had come far, but they still grappled with the ghosts of their past: war, inequality, prejudice. "You have much to teach us, Zorax," she said softly. "I hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." However, not everyone shared Nadia's enthusiasm. Lieutenant Commander Alex Ivanov grew increasingly uneasy as the repairs neared completion. He paced the Endeavor's corridors, his jaw clenched, his mind churning with suspicion. One evening, he confronted Nadia in her quarters. "Captain, I must voice my concerns," he said, his voice tight. "We're giving these aliens access to our technology, our resources. What if they turn on us? What if this is all an elaborate ruse?" Nadia met his gaze calmly. "I understand your fears, Alex, but I truly believe the Zathuri are sincere. They have shown no hostility, no deceit, only gratitude and openness." Ivanov shook his head. "Forgive me, Captain, but I cannot share your trust. My instincts tell me something is amiss." "Then I ask you to trust in me," Nadia said firmly. "I will not let harm come to our crew or our mission, but I also will not let fear cloud my judgment." Ivanov relented, but the tension in his shoulders remained. "As you command, Captain, but I will be watching." As the final repairs were completed and the Zathurian fleet prepared to depart, Nadia and Zorax stood side by side on the Endeavor's bridge. "Words cannot express our gratitude, Captain Solis," Zorax said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have saved not only our ships, but our hope. The Zathuri are forever in your debt." Nadia grasped his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin. "We are allies now, Zorax. Whatever challenges lie ahead, we will face them together." But even as she spoke, a chill ran down her spine. For on the edge of the sensor range, a dark shape had appeared, vaguely ship-shaped but radiating an aura of malevolence. It hovered there, watching, waiting, like a predator stalking its prey. On the Endeavor's bridge, alarms blared to life. "Captain," cried Ensign Tara Nolan, the sensor operator. "Unknown vessel detected, closing fast. Its energy signature is off the charts." Nadia leaped into action. "Red alert. Raise shields, arm weapons. Hail the Zathurian fleet, warn them of the threat." But it was too late. The dark ship surged forward, its hull pulsing with sickly green light. A beam of pure destruction lanced out, slicing through the hull of a Zathurian cruiser like a knife through butter. The cruiser exploded in a blossom of fire and debris. "Evasive maneuvers," Nadia shouted as the Endeavor shuddered under the impact of the enemy's assault. "Return fire, all batteries." The bridge descended into controlled chaos as the crew fought to repel the sudden attack. Lieutenant Commander Ivanov's face was grim as he studied the tactical readouts. "Captain, our weapons are barely scratching their shields. We're outmatched here." Nadia's mind raced, seeking the solution. They had to protect the Zathurian fleet at all costs. But how could they stand against a foe of such overwhelming power? Then, Zorax's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain Solis, I recognize that ship. It belongs to the Krovax, an ancient enemy of the Zathuri. They seek to eradicate all who stand in the way of their conquest." Nadia's eyes widened with realization. The Krovax must have been drawn by the energy storm that crippled the Zathurian fleet. They saw the Zathuri's vulnerability as an opportunity to strike. "We won't let them win, Zorax," Nadia declared, her voice steeled with determination. "The Endeavor stands with you." But as another volley rocked the ship and consoles burst into showers of sparks, Nadia knew they were in for the fight of their lives. The darkness had found them, and it would stop at nothing to extinguish the light of their newfound alliance. Looming threat. The Endeavor shuddered as another blast from the Krovax ship slammed into its shields. On the bridge, Captain Nadia Solis gripped the arms of her command chair, her knuckles white. "Damage report," she barked. Chief Engineer Miguel Ramos's voice crackled over the comm, strained with tension. "Shields at 30%, Captain. We can't take much more of this." Nadia's jaw clenched. The Krovax's technology was far superior to anything they had encountered before. Their weapons cut through the Endeavor's defenses like a scalpel, while their own shields shrugged off the human ship's attacks with contemptuous ease. On the view screen, the Zathurian fleet fared no better. Their newly repaired ships were no match for the Krovax's onslaught. One by one, the graceful vessels were reduced to fields of debris, their crews consumed by the merciless void. Commander Zorax's face appeared on the screen, his features contorted with grief and rage. "Captain Solis, we cannot withstand this assault. The Krovax will slaughter us all." Nadia's heart ached at the despair in his voice. She had sworn to protect the Zathuri, but now it seemed she had only led them to their doom. "We'll find a way, Zorax," she said, forcing conviction into her words. "We won't abandon you." Lieutenant Commander Alex Ivanov leaned in, his face grim. "Captain, we need to retreat. Live to fight another day." Nadia rounded on him, her eyes flashing. "I will not leave the Zathuri to face this alone, Commander. We stand together, no matter the cost." Ivanov held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded tightly. "Aye, Captain." Nadia turned back to the view screen, her mind racing. They needed a plan, a way to level the playing field. But what could they do against a foe that outclassed them in every way? Then a thought struck her. "Zorax," she said urgently, "your energy storm, the one that disabled your fleet, could it affect the Krovax as well?" Zorax's eyes widened. "Possibly. Their technology, while advanced, operates on similar principles to ours. But, Captain, we barely survived that storm ourselves. To unleash it again would be suicide." Nadia's lips thinned into a determined line. "It may be our only chance. If we can lure the Krovax into the storm's path, it could buy us the time we need." "To do what?" Ivanov asked skeptically. "To strike at their heart," Nadia said, a plan forming in her mind. "Every ship has a weakness, no matter how powerful. We just need to find theirs." She turned to Lieutenant Kai Chen, the Endeavor's pilot. "Kai, plot a course for the storm's coordinates. Zorax, have your fleet follow us. We'll need every ship we have." As the Endeavor and the remnants of the Zathurian fleet raced toward the roiling energy maelstrom, Nadia addressed her crew. "I won't lie to you," she said, her voice steady. "This will be the most dangerous mission we've ever faced. But I know each and every one of you will give your all, not just for Earth, but for the brave souls fighting beside us. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity is made of." A chorus of determined voices echoed back. "Aye, Captain." The Krovax ship pursued them relentlessly, its weapons hammering at their flagging shields. But Nadia held her course, guiding her ship toward the seething heart of the storm. As they approached the maelstrom's edge, Zorax's voice filled the bridge. "Captain Solis, I must speak with you. Privately." Nadia frowned but nodded to Ivanov to take the con. She stepped into her ready room, Zorax's holographic form shimmering into view. "What is it, Zorax?" she asked, concern etching her features. The Zatharian commander's face was solemn, his eyes haunted. "There is something you must know about the Krovax, something I have kept hidden until now." Nadia leaned forward, her heart pounding. "What are you saying?" Zorax closed his eyes, as if steeling himself. "The Krovax are not just our enemy, Captain. They are our creation." Nadia's blood ran cold. "What?" "Long ago," Zorax said heavily, "the Zathari sought to create the ultimate weapon, a fusion of our technology, and a dark energy we discovered in the depths of space. We thought we could control it, harness it for our own purposes. But the darkness consumed us, twisted our creation into something monstrous. The Krovax were born, and they turned on their creators with a vengeance." Nadia stared at him, her mind reeling. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I was ashamed," Zorax said, his voice cracking. "Ashamed of our hubris, our folly. We created the very thing that now seeks to destroy us." Nadia was silent for a long moment, her thoughts churning. Then, slowly, she reached out and placed her hand on Zorax's holographic shoulder. "We all have our secrets, Zorax," she said softly. "Our mistakes. But what matters now is how we face them, together." Zorax met her gaze, his eyes glistening with emotion. "Thank you, Captain. Your trust honors me." Nadia smiled sadly. "We're in this fight as one, Zorax. Until the end." As she returned to the bridge, Nadia's resolve hardened into diamond certainty. They would face the Krovax, face the darkness born of the Zathari's past, and they would triumph, not just for Earth or the Zathari, but for the future they would forge together. The storm loomed before them, a swirling vortex of primal energy. Nadia took her seat, her crew poised and ready at their stations. "Take us in, Kai," she commanded. "Let's finish this." The Endeavor plunged into the maelstrom, the Krovax close behind, hurtling toward a confrontation that would echo through the ages. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and only the courage and ingenuity of a united front could hope to prevail against the encroaching darkness. Desperate stand. The Endeavor shuddered and groaned as it plunged into the roiling heart of the energy storm, the Zatharian fleet and the Krovax ship close behind. On the bridge, Captain Nadia Solis gripped her command chair, her eyes fixed on the view screen where tendrils of crackling energy lashed across the void. "Report," she barked, her voice straining to be heard over the ship's creaking hull. "Shields are holding, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Ivanov called out from the tactical station. "But the storm's interference is wreaking havoc on our systems. Navigation, weapons, comms, they're all flickering in and out." Nadia nodded grimly. It was a desperate gambit, leading the Krovax into the maelstrom that had crippled the Zatharian fleet. But if they could just hold out long enough, if the storm could weaken the Krovax's defenses. On the view screen, the Zatharian ships wove through the energy-strewn battlefield, their hulls scorched and battered. They fired back at the Krovax with everything they had, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against the enemy's shields. "Captain, the Zathari can't take much more of this," Lieutenant Kai Chen warned from the helm. "They're brave, but they're outmatched." Nadia's jaw clenched. She knew Kai was right. The Zatharian fleet was fighting valiantly, but they were no match for the Krovax's superior technology. They needed a miracle. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "Zorax," she called out over the comm, "the energy storm. Can your ships channel its power? Use it to boost your weapons." There was a moment of startled silence. Then Zorax's voice crackled back, tight with tension. "It's possible, but risky. We could overload our systems, burn out our cores. What other choice do we have?" Nadia pressed. "We have to hit the Krovax with everything we've got. It's our only chance." She could almost hear the gears turning in Zorax's mind. Then, with a heavy sigh, he said, "Very well, Captain. We will follow your lead. May the spirits of our ancestors watch over us. Nadia turned to her own crew, her eyes blazing with determination. You heard the plan. Kai, bring us about. Ivanov, divert all power to weapons. We're going to give the Krovaks a taste of their own medicine. The bridge crew leaped into action, their faces set with grim resolve. The Endeavor swung around, its prow aimed directly at the looming bulk of the Krovak ship. The Zatharian fleet fell into formation behind them, their hulls pulsing with the eerie glow of the energy storm. Channel the storm's energy into the main cannon, Nadia ordered, her voice steady. Prepare to fire on my mark. The Endeavor shuddered as the storm's power surged through its systems, the lights flickering and consoles sparking. On the view screen, the Krovak ship loomed larger and larger, its hull bristling with weapons. Captain, they're charging their main cannon, Ivanov warned, his fingers flying over his console. Nadia's heart pounded in her ears. This was it, the moment of truth. Fire, she commanded, her voice ringing out like a clarion call. The Endeavor's main cannon erupted with a blinding flash, a lance of pure energy streaking across the void. The Zatharian ships fired in unison, their own weapons enhanced by the storm's fury. For a moment, the Krovak ship seemed to shudder under the onslaught, its shields flickering. But then, with a sickening lurch, the enemy vessel surged forward, its hull glowing with an unholy light. Their shields are holding. Ivanov cried out, disbelief etched on his face. Nadia stared at the view screen, her mind racing. The Krovaks were too strong, their technology too advanced. Even with the storm's power, they couldn't breach the enemy's defenses. But then, a flash of inspiration struck her. The Krovaks' shields were impenetrable from the outside. But what about from within? Zorax, she called out, her voice tight with urgency. Can your ships generate a quantum singularity? A miniature black hole? There was a stunned pause. Then Zorax's voice came back, laced with awe. Yes, but Captain, the power required would be astronomical. It would drain our reserves, leave us defenseless. I know, Nadia said softly. But it's our last resort. If we can generate a singularity inside the Krovaks' shields, it could tear them apart from the inside out. She could sense Zorax's hesitation, the weight of the decision bearing down on him. But then, with a quiet determination, he said, "We will do what must be done, Captain, for the future of both our peoples." Nadia nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude and respect. Kai, bring us in close to the Krovaks. Ivanov, channel everything we've got into the shields. We need to buy the Zathari time. As the Endeavor surged forward, the Zatharian ships broke formation, scattering like leaves on the wind. They wove and dodged around the Krovaks' fire, drawing the enemy's attention away from the real threat. Generating singularity, Zorax reported, his voice strained. It's unstable, Captain. We can't hold it for long. Just a few more seconds, Nadia urged, her eyes locked on the view screen. The Krovak ship filled the screen, its hull pulsing with malevolent energy. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the center of the Zatharian fleet. A swirling vortex of darkness appeared, a yawning chasm in the fabric of space-time. Singularity formed. Zorax cried out, "Hurry, Captain." Nadia didn't hesitate. Kai, full speed ahead, rammed that singularity down their throats. The Endeavor leaped forward, the singularity clutched in its tractor beam like a spear of pure void. The Krovak ship loomed before them, its shields shimmering with unholy light. With a bone-jarring impact, the Endeavor collided with the Krovaks' shields, the singularity grinding against the energy barrier in a cataclysmic display of force. For a moment, it seemed as though the shields would hold, that the Endeavor's sacrifice would be in vain. But then, with a sickening lurch, the singularity punched through the weakened shields, burrowing into the heart of the Krovak ship. The enemy vessel shuddered and writhed, its hull buckling and twisting as the singularity tore it apart from within. "Pull back," Nadia shouted, her voice hoarse. "Get us clear." The Endeavor wrenched itself free from the dying Krovac ship, its own hull groaning under the strain. As they retreated, the enemy vessel imploded in a blinding flash of light, the singularity consuming it utterly. In the sudden silence that followed, Nadia slumped back in her chair, her heart hammering in her chest. They had done it. Against all odds, they had defeated the Krovacs. But as she looked out at the battered remnants of the Zatharian fleet, at the scared and weary faces of her own crew, she knew that their victory had come at a terrible cost. The Endeavor was crippled, its systems failing, and the Zathari had sacrificed everything to make this desperate stand. As the weight of their losses settled on her shoulders, Nadia closed her eyes, a single tear tracing down her cheek. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The darkness that had birthed the Krovacs still lurked out there, and she knew that humanity and the Zathari would need each other more than ever in the trials to come. But for now, in this moment of bittersweet triumph, Nadia allowed herself a small smile. They had proven that courage, ingenuity, and unity could overcome even the darkest of foes, and that gave her hope for the future, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Aftermath. The Endeavor limped back to Earth, its hull scared and battered, its crew exhausted but triumphant. In the ship's medical bay, Captain Nadia Solis lay on a bed, her body racked with pain from the injuries she had sustained in the final battle. At her side, Commander Zorax sat, his own wounds bandaged and his eyes heavy with grief. The Zatharian fleet had been decimated, their once proud ships reduced to drifting wrecks. But they had not died in vain. Together with the humans, they had struck a blow against the darkness, had shown that unity and courage could triumph over even the most formidable of foes. As Nadia drifted in and out of consciousness, her mind replayed the events of the past few days. The desperate struggle against the Krovacs, the sacrifice of the Zatharian ships, the final, cataclysmic unleashing of the singularity. It all seemed like a distant dream, a nightmare from which she was only now awakening. But it had been real. The scars on her body, the haunted look in her crew's eyes, they bore testament to the ordeal they had endured. And yet, amidst the pain and the loss, there was also a sense of pride, of accomplishment. They had done something remarkable, something that would be remembered for generations to come. Zorax stirred, his gaze meeting Nadia's. "Captain," he said softly, his voice heavy with emotion, "I cannot find the words to express my gratitude. You and your crew, you have given us hope, a chance to rebuild and heal. The Zathari will never forget what you have done for us." Nadia managed a weak smile. "We did it together, Zorax. Humans and Zathari, united as one. That's the lesson we must take from this, that our strength lies in our unity, in our willingness to stand together against the darkness." Zorax nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You are wise, Captain. Your people have much to teach us, just as we have much to learn from you. I look forward to the day when our civilizations can stand side by side, as true equals and allies." Nadia reached out, clasping Zorax's hand in her own. "That day will come, my friend. We have taken the first step on a long and difficult road, but I have faith that we will walk it together." As the Endeavor entered Earth's orbit, a hero's welcome awaited them. Ships from a dozen alien races, the Zathari among them, formed an honor guard, their hulls glittering in the sun. On the planet's surface, crowds gathered in the streets, their faces alight with joy and wonder. In the days that followed, the story of the Endeavor's brave stand against the Krovacs spread like wildfire. The names of Nadia Solis and her crew became legend, their deeds celebrated in song and story. The alliance between humanity and the Zathari grew stronger, a beacon of hope in a galaxy too often consumed by darkness and strife. But for Nadia, the true reward was the knowledge that they had made a difference, that in the face of overwhelming odds, they had held fast to their principles, to their belief in the power of unity and compassion. It was a lesson she would carry with her for the rest of her days, a light to guide her through whatever trials lay ahead. As she stood on the observation deck of the newly repaired Endeavour, gazing out at the stars, Nadia felt a sense of profound humility and gratitude. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and she had been privileged to play a small part in its unfolding story. She thought of her crew, of the bonds of friendship and loyalty that had been forged in the crucible of battle. She thought of Zorax and the Zathari, of the trust and respect that had grown between their peoples. And she thought of the countless other civilizations out there, waiting to be discovered, to be welcomed into the ever-growing tapestry of galactic life. The road ahead would not be easy. The shadows that had given rise to the Krovax still lurked in the depths of space, and there would be other challenges, other threats to face. But Nadia knew that as long as beings of goodwill stood together, as long as the light of hope and unity burned bright, no darkness could prevail forever. With a smile on her lips and a song in her heart, Captain Nadia Solis turned her gaze to the future, ready to embrace whatever wonders and adventures lay ahead. For she knew that as long as the spirit of humanity, the spirit of unity and courage and compassion, endured, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The stars beckoned, and the Endeavour answered the call, forging ahead into a galaxy full of promise, full of hope. And though the journey was long and the challenges many, Nadia knew that they would face them as they had faced the Krovax. Together, united in purpose and in spirit, a shining beacon of all that was best in the sentient races of the cosmos.